All right. This is an addendum to the AI, the artificial intelligence stream I did yesterday. This is actually an addendum. There's some pieces that I left out because I couldn't find the pieces that I wanted on the fly. I probably should have prepared a little better. So this is where we're going to do it. Then I'm going to make it into a pre-record. So we're going to do a analysis, reaction kind of to some clips I've actually put together because I want to explain it not only from my vantage point about AI and jobs and the coming, well, not only coming, the actual fourth industrial revolution that we're going through right now. It's not coming; it's already here. People think that it's coming. No, it's not coming. It's here already. You know, with the 5G, with the Internet of Things, with the AIs being released, with the crypto markets and the digital markets. They're trying to turn the dollar into digital, all that kind of stuff. We're already here. The impact is already being felt, but it's just starting. So people think we haven't evolved into it yet because we haven't really felt it. We're feeling it now. So this is what we're going to do. We're actually going to talk about it from the clips of from a neoliberal lens. So we're not going to talk about it from the technology standpoint, which is okay, but things we're actually talking about from an economic standpoint, because at the end of the day, tech is only as good as your economics. It's just tools to actually get things done for people and get people jobs and keep this, a human economic system going. That's what it's actually for. And we've gone through this several times, right? The latest, really the latest being back, major change was the Industrial Revolution when the machines came in. So now we're going to go through this, and we're going to boot up the clips that I put in. I actually made a little video out of it, so we're going to boot up the clips I put in, and we're going to go through it. Okay. Start off with the main topic. This is key. That's why I'm starting with it. With Jeremy Irons and Margin Call and his most famous speech. With this, they've been using this since it came out. So for the last 10 years, classic line.
What have I told you since the first day you stepped into my office? There are three ways to make a living in this business. Be first, be smarter, or cheat. No, I don't cheat. And although I like to think we have some pretty smart people in this building, it sure is a hell of a lot easier to just be first.
That's what I was trying to tell you as far as Microsoft. These AIs are all over. Google may have come up with a technology. OpenAI, which these guys left, they were actually bought out by Microsoft. Microsoft funded them back in I think it's 2015 or so. And these bots have been developed all over the planet. People said, well, Google came up with the technology first, possibly. But the thing is, the Chinese got them, the Russians got them, the European countries have them. Canada has funded its own. IBM's got its own. IBM's had its own AI, which is Watson, but they made it for medical. But these large language models, which Google basically almost invented because of the search engine. But if you think of large language models, Apple's got one because Siri's is a large language model. Amazon, Meta, which is Facebook, you got tons of these models, right? But somebody had to be first, right? This is why I'm playing this clip, because guess who's first?
I know that you've spoken also that you're an investor of your personal wealth in some companies like Cohere that are building these large language models. So I'm just curious about your personal sense of responsibility and each of our personal responsibility. What should we be doing? I mean, should we try and stop this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I think if you take the existential risk seriously, as I now do, I used to think it was way off, but I now think it's serious and fairly close. It might be quite sensible to just stop developing these things any further. But I think it's completely naive to think that would happen. There's no way to make that happen. And one reason, I mean, if the US stops developing and the Chinese won't, they're going to be used in weapons. And just for that reason alone, governments aren't going to stop developing them. So, yes, I think stopping developing them might be a rational thing to do, but there's no way it's going to happen. So it's silly to sign petitions saying, please stop now. We did have a holiday. We had a holiday from about 2017 for several years because Google developed the technology first. It developed the transformers. It also developed the fusion models. And it didn't put them out there for people to use and abuse. It was very careful with them because it didn't want to damage its reputation, and it knew there could be bad consequences. But that can only happen if there's a single leader. Once OpenAI had built similar things using transformers and money from Microsoft, and Microsoft decided to put it out there, Google didn't have really much choice. If you're going to live in a capitalist system, you can't stop Google competing with Microsoft.
To your question.
Okay. Now, what did I just say? I told you yesterday that he kind of frowned on Microsoft putting it out there, just releasing it into the wild like that without restrictions. And even releasing the doggone thing, right? Google's wanted to probably layer it in much more slowly. But since it's out there already, right? And what did Jeremy Irons said? How do you make money in this business? Be first, be smarter, or cheat? It's a hell of a lot better to be first. No matter how smart you are, it's a hell of a lot better to be first. So when Microsoft is first, now everybody has to play catch up. And what did he say? Once Microsoft did it, and you live in a capitalist system, that Google and Meta is going to have to follow. Google, Meta, and a whole bunch of others are going to have to follow. So you're probably going to see a Chinese one if you haven't already. You're going to see one come from Musk and from Elon Musk and his companies, right? That's coming. IBM is going to have to probably do the same thing. So the thing is, now you have a AI arms race that's going to go on, not only between companies in the United States. You got probably about 10 companies alone in the United States that have to compete against each other, let alone the Chinese and the Russians and the Europeans. So this stuff is going to scale very quickly in the future. In a short time, it's going to scale very quickly. It already has. Okay, it's already everywhere. Google's putting AI in your phones in the Android system. It's already happening. Okay, so this stuff is actually going to have rapid development because you're going to have all these people working on it at the same time. So what is that going to mean? It's going to have to be embedded everywhere, not on your phones, but also the biggest thing is going to be in your workplace, because that's where the money is. The money, entertaining people is fine, getting people to use your products is fine, but the biggest cost savings is going to be in the workplace, replacing people. And that's going to happen. Now, this clip is actually from the UCL with, I think his name is Silvers, when he's actually talking about neoliberalism and its effect not only on jobs and economies, but also the wealth gap. And what he's going to say here, if you listen to him, is how neoliberalism actually captures wealth. It capitalizes wealth and it doesn't go into the workers' pockets, whereas more socialist countries do, which is why it's significant, because I hear people talking about AIs and automation making jobs easier and having it make more people more money, or at least making the jobs to task more easier so you can actually do more. That's always possible, but the thing is, very seldom happens. So I'm going to play this clip and see what he says about it.
About industrial employment. So we can go back here and look at this graph. This graph really kind of answers your question, okay? There is a secular decline in industrial employment in the 1970s and 1980s across the developed world. And part of that is the movement of industry from what would have been called the first world to someplace else, right, during this period, to China, to South Korea, to Mexico, to all sorts of places. And part of it is technological change. It's what the gentleman who was here, the student who was here earlier, was asking about labor productivity. Right? There's a huge people talk about technological change today and AI and robots and all that. There was a huge era of technological change during this period, automation, early uses of computers and the like, that pushed output up and jobs down. Right? In some countries, the gains from this process were essentially translated into wages. Right? Countries that had strong social democratic structures, strong trade union structures, particularly in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, in Germany, in Japan, in Scandinavia, these gains ended up significantly in workers' pockets. In the United States, workers got nothing, just nothing from this change. The gains were completely captured by capital. In Britain, capital got most, but workers got some. So you have these two things going on. You have movements of production, and then you have changes in productivity, technology, and the like. The idea that somebody stole somebody's jobs is not the right way to think about it. It really isn't. Workers got played off against each other, right? And workers got played off against each other within Europe, and between Europe and the developing world, and between the United States and different countries with different dependent relationships on the United States. And as I pointed out in my lecture last time, it's a fascinating thing that when China thought about allowing workers more rights in the teens, who were the big objectors to that? Not Chinese hardliners, American companies. The American Chamber of Commerce in China was the big opposing force to that idea. That should sort of clue you in as to what's going on here. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with the idea of putting more technology into play and making production more, making labor more productive, as long as labor gets the benefits, right? And as long as wages in other sectors rise along with manufacturing wages, which turns out to have been a problem in Germany. The reason why this created a social crisis was because of neoliberal policies that led to it fueling radical inequality, right? And stagnant or falling wages. And the other thing to keep an eye on here is Germany, right? Industrial employment does fall in Germany, but it doesn't fall like the rest of these countries. And the reasons for that are a very serious commitment by German policymakers to have structures to maintain German manufacturing competitiveness. And those structures in part involved wage suppression and currency manipulation, but in significant part involved just driving productivity through training and through reinvestment.
All right. The thing is, what he's telling you is that we've gone through a period when neoliberalism first started, right? When you went from pro-socialist or FDR socialist type mixed economy and the crash of the Bretton Woods, they needed another system that should reboot the dollar. And what they chose was to bring back laissez-faire liberalism in a new form, which is what we call neoliberalism. And what he's saying is that in the late 70s, early 80s, when computers and other kind of digital machinery came into the workplace, because that's where it came in first, it captured most of the wealth. So most of the productivity gains went into the pockets of the capitalists and none to the workers. In fact, they lower, harder jobs to do, more intensive labor jobs to do, they shipped out of the country to other places like China, Mexico, South America, places like that. As he shipped it out. And the workers got nothing, as he said. So would you expect workers would get something this time around when you have possibly even bigger gains by putting more people out of work? Because the United States is a service economy now. It's not a manufacturing economy like it used to be. That's China. China manufacturing base is bigger than Europe and the United States put together. That's how big it is. Most of our jobs are service related and ripe for automation. So how much of this productivity gains do you think we're going to get? I mean, seriously. I know we have this utopia that we're going to put all these people to work, to actually make more things and be more competitive. That's possible. And hopefully our bitter angels will actually do that. Now, do I think it will? I'm black pill. Let's be honest. I'm black pill. My answer would be no. I'm hopeful that our bitter angels will, but our track record is not that great. Not in America. Basically, the biggest opium of capital is guess what? Profits. What's the biggest profits that you come from, right? From actually replacing labor with either cheaper labor or machines, whether they're physical or they're digital. Technology replaces workers. It always does. And if you don't have a system to redistribute that wealth, which socialism did, or a mixed economy socialism does, what is going to happen? Basically, capitalists do what capitalists do. They're going to go where the money is. China found that out. Religion is the opiate of the masses. Profits are the opiate of capital, is what it is. So, this is the last one I will play, and we'll finish up.
A new wave of disruption is on the horizon. The pandemic has disrupted everything. The war in Ukraine has broken globalization, and the next wave of upheaval will hit our jobs. Listen to this carefully. 14 million jobs could be eliminated in the next 5 years. 14 million. That's the prediction of the World Economic Forum. They've published a survey just ahead of the International Workers' Day, also known as May Day. It's today, the 1st of May. Workers around the world marched on the streets today. In France, there were massive protests. 1 million workers hit the streets. Many of them are opposing President Macron's new pension policy. We've been discussing it on the show. What about the rest? What are they protesting? Around the world, women and men are marching on Labor Day to ask for better wages, better living standards, better working conditions. But the job market is changing, and changing dramatically. We are in a period of disruption, and we have advance warning. But are we prepared for what's coming? Are we prepared for the loss of another 14 million jobs in 5 years? The report I just mentioned, it surveyed more than 800 companies around the world, and this is what it found. Employers will create 69 million jobs by 2027. 69 million new jobs. But they'll also eliminate jobs. How many? 83 million. And the difference is 14 million. That's the number of jobs that will be lost. So employers will slash more jobs than creating new ones. And you know what will drive this change? Technology. Artificial intelligence. It will change the workplace as we know it. It will have both positive and negative impacts. It will create jobs for those who can develop and manage AI tools. It will also take away jobs like those that involve record keeping. In fact, the World Economic Forum has made this prediction. It says 26 million record keeping jobs are at risk. They could be eliminated by 2027. So technology will be a big disruptor whether we like it or not. But it won't be the only disruptor. The job market will also be hit by slower economic growth and higher inflation. Also, a major risk that stares us in the face is a redundant workforce. Around the world, 6 out of 10 workers will need training. 44% of a worker's skills need to be updated. Turns out a lot of people do want to upgrade themselves, but they don't have enough opportunities. Only half of the employees surveyed say that they have adequate access to opportunities. This is the global picture. What about India? Well, India will not be insulated from these changes. The World Economic Forum report has a prediction for India too. It says the Indian job market will also see a churn. New jobs will be created in emerging sectors like AI and machine learning. So the shift is quite clear for everyone. The question is, are we ready for it? And the short answer, I'm afraid, is no, we are not. Around the world, labor unrest is on the rise. Dock workers have staged walkouts. Rail workers and public servants are protesting. Ports around the world are witnessing agitations. Let me show you some data, in fact. In 2021, there were just 8 cases of protests and strikes at the world's leading ports. Last year, this number shot up dramatically. From 8, it went up to 38. That's a jump of almost 400%. Why are so many workers angry? They're deeply impacted by the growing inflation. They say their wages have been stagnant for decades. They want a raise. And we've seen this before. In the 1800s, there was a series of protests. From Germany to France, England, and the US, workers had a single simple demand. They wanted their work hours reduced. They were working for 12 to 15 hours. They wanted this reduced to just 8 hours a day. And this led to the first round of May Day strikes. In the US, the May Day protests began with a bloody massacre. The year was 1886. Workers took out a rally in Chicago. Again, they wanted to work for fewer hours. They assembled at the Haymarket Square. Suddenly, bombs went off. Unknown attackers targeted the workers. It led to a massive riot. At least 11 people died. This event was a turning point in American history. It led to major labor reforms in the US. This was more than 100 years ago. The job sector is dramatically different today. 60% of the jobs in existence today were not even around in the 1940s. We are in the year 2023. The world is at a similar crossroads. Today we are witnessing fresh protests. But do we have a solution? Not immediately, but we do need a solution urgently, and policymakers must act, else they'll have a new crisis on their hands, a crisis of jobs, or joblessness to be more precise. Those who have a job want better wages. But the reality is this: the companies that employ them are looking for ways to hire fewer people. And technology is driving this disruption. It's inevitable. Our best bet is to innovate and prepare.
There we go. There you have it. Okay. I know people, I have detractors that say I'm bullshitting and saying I'm being too pessimistic, that you can't reskill people. And that's fine. Hopefully you can, because people think I wish for this. I don't. You know, I got children, man. I got 5 grandsons that need jobs. I got kids that still working, have to raise these children. I don't want to see this happen. I had wished that it wasn't. But as they said in Margin Call, it seems that the ground is shifting beneath our feet, and evidently there's no other way out. So this is a black pill version. People think I'm lying. People think I'm exaggerating. People think that I'm too pessimistic, and maybe I am. But this is history. This is not something that hasn't happened before. This is not something a black swan that nobody saw coming. We saw this coming 10 years ago, more than that. World Economic Forum is trying to prepare for it. That's why what do you think the UBI is for? What do you think the Worldwide Jubilee is for? To redo neo-capitalism, the thing, neoliberalism, or neo-capitalism, a thing that's plaguing the planet right now. All I can do is tell you what's up. All I can do is point to it. You know, I'm an old man. I'm one old man in his house talking to you. One old man cannot do anything, right? All I can do is tell you what I think is coming, tell you what I think is going on, and hip you to it. And maybe, just maybe, you know, I can draw you a map where you can navigate your way through this. That's my hope. Why I'm doing it. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I got one talent I can analyze. I can put one and one together. That's my only talent. I'm not a mathematical genius. I'm not a tech whiz. I'm not a billionaire. Not any of that stuff. I'm one guy that can do one thing, one little monkey trick, and this is it. And this is what I see. These are the ones that have been added together. This is something that I knew was coming 10 years ago. You could see it coming. You can see everything adding up, and you know how these people get down. You saw the godfather of AI said the exact same thing that I just told you. I told you about what he was hinting at. Once this stuff is released, once somebody jumps the gun, it's out now. Was it planned for? No. The thing is, somebody wanted to be first. Somebody wanted to make money. Somebody wanted to reduce jobs. Now, the World Economic Forum wanted to do it much slower than this. Didn't work out that way. Now we're here. Now you can question what I just put up. You can go find your own sources. You can find a bunch of other people saying that there's wonderful opportunities all over the globe. Yeah, for some people. I agree. For some people, there will be. What does she say? 14 million jobs. Okay, they actually updated it to like 33 million jobs. I think that's the last count. 60 out of 10 workers are going to have to be reskilled. 6 out of 10, that's globally, going to have to be reskilled. Paper pushing jobs are going to be mostly eliminated. Where are they going to put all these people? It's hard enough to train people to do one thing, or we work in one market. How are you going to retrain them on the fly within 5 years to do something else and keep their same level of income and employment? That's one big monkey trick that I would not even try to even pull off. So how they're going to pull this crap off, I have no clue, man. In fact, if it's anything like they've done in the past, man, I don't think they will pull it off. What did they say? 83 million jobs globally. That's just 800 companies around the world. We're not even talking about everybody else and the downhill effects when this kind of stuff happens. You already have a screwed up supply chain because of COVID and other things. Got a screwed up supply chain. The world has not even recovered from the last crash we had, 2008. Let alone COVID, let alone what's going on right now, right? And all the other multiplier effects. We haven't even recovered from 2008, much less what's going on now. And now we got AI thrown on us. All right. I said in 2019, get right or get left, right? 4 years ago. Are you right? If you're right, you're good. Some people are. If you're left, all I can do is pray for you. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.